Perfect. So, welcome to the Figma tutorial. Today we're going to be designing a website from scratch. I've already kind of given myself a little head start and pulled some images and tools and stuff, so I can actually show you guys how to do it. So to start off, all the resources are on our QWeb club page. So if you want to follow along, you actually can. So let's get started. So a little tour around here. We have the original IT. It's a bubble tea place. I don't know if anyone's been. It's pretty good. I recommend. But this is the original website that they have currently. I'll scroll slowly so you guys can kind of absorb that. They have some very interesting components. And then they have a gallery, and then they have a contact us page. All of this is just in like a one scroll, so it's not really engaging. There's not really much for your user to do, so I honestly don't recommend. Don't design, I call it kind of flat. You want to have buttons, you want to have call to actions, you want to have things that people can scroll through and flip between. Nothing's moving, and that's generally a bad sign. Also, before I really dive deep into this, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask at any point. It's not a question at the end. So then over here, we have our wireframe that I have created. So when you make a website, you want to come up with a color palette, you want to come up with text, and you want to plan out your website. Generally, I use pen and paper, and I literally just chicken scratch boxes, and I'm like, images here, text goes over here, and header over here. But I can't really show you guys that, so I put it online. So pretty much this will be the homepage that we're going to design and fill out. And then this is going to be the contact us page. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to show you 2 pages only. But if you're really interested, you can always create the rest based off of what I show you. So to dive more into color, so if you're interested in learning more about color palettes and what to select, I did do a first tutorial on that. So please look into that if you're interested. Or if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. So we've chosen the background color, call to action colors, and we have the main text color and off-white. Just a side note, it's always important not to have true black or true white on a website. You will blind your users with an all white background. Don't do it. Change the hue just a little bit. And then this is the font that we chose. Don't choose anything super curly or intense, or if you're a coder like I am, don't choose anything that's super techy. You want to really engage and make sure that the user can read what you're typing. So don't choose anything super funky. And then we have all the images and everything that I'm going to just place on for the sake of time. So let's get started. So when you're making a website, it's important to make sure that you know how to use the tool that you're going to use to make the website. So in Figma here, you have this box in the middle, and that's your workspace. And then on the side here, these are your layers. So have anyone used Photoshop before? Raise a hand. Yeah, okay. So it's very similar to Photoshop. You have your layers. If I go over here, it's a little difficult. So if I go here, so I selected a layer, and then if you want to move it up and down, you can see that now it's on top of that image, and then I can put it down, and now it's below it. So the layers will change based on the order that you have, and then you can see certain elements and hide certain ones. So it's pretty cool. You can play around with that. And then generally how you start on Figma is you go over to this like hashtag button, and it's called a frame. Yeah.
I'm having some trouble copying this. Like you said, you copied or someone said copy this.
Yeah. So you can go to if you click on the link. Yeah, you guys are all on here. Okay. So you can hit the down arrow, and then you hit duplicate here. It's on our QWeb Discord. Yeah.
Are you on the server?
It's maybe does anyone, can everyone has access to the link or no? Or who doesn't have access to it? Raise your hand. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So does everyone know how to duplicate it now? Is it working for everyone now? Yes. Yes. Okay. Perfect. All right. So when you create a frame here, if I click this, on the side here is your settings bar, is what I call it. You can do different things over here. So you have social media, Figma community, presentation, watch. So these are the different frame sizes for all the interfaces that you can design for. So that's watches, social media posts, desktop. As you can see, they have all the different versions of desktops here. So it's pretty cool. For now, we're just going to select desktop because that's your standard. And then it gives you this little frame. So you can now interact with this. It's just a base box. And then let's drag this down. I'm not going to change the width of it because that's the standard width of a regular desktop screen. And then we can also rename it. We can call this home page. And voila. So now you have a box. So then we can start creating our header. So to follow this outline here, we have, this is going to be where our image logo is. Then we're gonna have our nav bar here. And then we're gonna have some sort of image to engage with and look at, and then we'll have our testimonials. So the nav bar in this section will act as what the user can interact with. So to start off here, we're going to create boxes. So this tool here is where you can do all your shapes. So you have rectangle, line, arrow, ellipse, star. You can create many things with it. So then we're going to choose the rectangle and we're going to drag it across here. And we're going to change the height to 316. And then, as you can see, the settings change depending on what you're on. So I'm on this shape at the moment, and I can change the color. You can use the standard kind of selector, or you can use the eyedropper, which is really nice. For now, we're going to use that. And where did that image go? And there we go. And as you can see, it changed the color. Or if you want a shortcut, you can just click on an element and press I, and the eyedropper will automatically come up. That's another cool tip. So then we're going to drag our image in here. So this is the logo that my team built. We're going to add that in. As you can see, when I place this element, there's these red kind of guidelines. They're really helpful, especially when you want to center something. So I highly recommend listening to them. Another thing is if you really suck at spacing and you're one of those lined paper kind of people and you like to have very structured elements, you can also use the layout grid. It's a pretty cool element. As you can see here, we're going to select columns. Let's make it 12. We want center, gutter will be 15. So that's this, the gutter is the spacing between each column. And then we're going to change the width to 80. And voila. So this is a great guideline for you. In a website, you generally don't want things right on the edge as it's not ideal. Your line of sight is generally through the center of the page. So you want to center everything to the best of your ability. And this is pretty great. So when you're making images, it's really nice to have these guidelines. as when you try to center something on the page, now if you're doing, say, images in a row, it makes it pretty easy to block out where they should go. For now, I really don't like the guidelines, so I'm gonna hide them. But that is a cool tip if you want to add more structure. So then we're going to make our nav bar. Same thing that we did before, we're gonna use a rectangle. And we're gonna add it here. And we're gonna press I. And go for our color. And then we want to make sure it's aligned. Perfect. And we're going to change the height to 146. Obviously, you won't have pre-measurements for your designs, but just for the sake of time, I've already done my draft. And then let's say we want to add more dimension to this. I'm not really feeling this kind of square. We're going to add some text with all of our pages that we can flip between, but let's add something more. So we're gonna add our square here. And then we're gonna center it. Another cool thing that you can do is you can change the opacity of things. So if we made this 20, as you can see, that just made the dimension of the page a little more different. It's more 3D. You want to keep looking out for those kind of tips. They're really great to keep focus on certain elements. And then we can go to our text button. So it's just this T at the top. All of your tools are up here. And we can click and we can start typing. So we're going to have about, and then we have menu, order, gallery, and contact. So we're just gonna space them out here. So let's just do about first. We're gonna change the font to our selected font, which was Volley, and then we're gonna drag it up here. And we can change the size to 45. And as you can see, you can't really see the text. So we want to make sure that everyone's able to read it. So let's make it white. And voila, there you have your first text. It's important to know with these text boxes that if I kept typing, it's going to overlap and keep going to the next line. So if you don't want that to happen, you can click this. I know it's really small, but there's this little like double arrow here. If you click that, it'll keep it to the same size as your text and it won't shift to the next line. There's no overflow. So if we do that, then the text box will be the same size as the text in it. And then you can use Command C, Command V to just make more. And so menu, order. We're not going to be making all of these pages. Just keep that in mind. Gallery. And then we have contact. So these are all kind of out of place. So an easy way to center things is start with the middle one, especially when you have an odd number. And then we can base it off of there. As you can see, it just came up with a spacing 103. That's a really helpful tool when you're trying to match the spacing between each element. And then if you hold shift, you can click on other elements and then you can move them all at once. Oh, this one's not aligned. Perfect. Yeah. And then you can hold shift and move all of them at the same time. Perfect. And voila, there's our nav bar. So we have part of our website. Then what we want to do is change the background. So you're going to click this the main frame, and you can go to fill and change the backdrop. I'm gonna change it to this light green. And there we go. There's a portion of your page coming together. So then we're going to add our image here on top of the frame. Perfect. And we can add more. Awesome. So now in a website, we have different sections and components, and you want to make sure that the user has a call to action button or something to interact with each one. For this next component, we're going to focus on testimonials. So our engagement with the user is going to be write your own review or read more. So yeah. The background, you can hit the main frame. The easiest way to do that, if you're confused on how to click there, because my mouse is so small, you can click this hashtag, whatever you named it, and then you can go over to the color on the side, the fill over on the far side there, and you click that, and then you can choose whatever color you want. Perfect. Any other questions while I'm at it? No? Okay, perfect. So then we're going to add some more text. And we're going to call this testimonials. So unfortunately for some fonts, as you can see, the regular is blurred out here. So they don't have a bolded version, which really is annoying. So a little hack that I have noticed is if you go to stroke, and if I zoom in here, it'll be way easier for you guys to see. And I change the color to yellow or white. No, yeah, yellow is fine. As you can see, the stroke is the outline of the text. So if I wanted this to be more bold, I could choose black and it enhances your font. So we're going to choose the green color because that is the color we're choosing for our font here. And we're going to choose the same color. As you can see at the bottom here, these are all your pre-selected colors, like previously selected. So it's a pretty quick select if you've already chosen that before. And we're going to change the size to 65. Perfect. And then here is where I would bring back those guidelines, turn it on, and you can see where it should be spaced. And there we go, that's about right. And we can hide it just for simplicity. And voila, now we have the start of our next section. For the sake of time, I've already made these boxes here. It's very simple and easy to make. You just make a rectangle, and then these are pre-made. The stars are pre-made shapes, and then you just have a text and circles, and that's pretty much it. And then the outline of the box is just a stroke that you can add on the side here. So we can copy that. And we're going to have 4. And there we go. So we can bring back our guidelines. And we can center them in the middle. Yeah, for sure. So if you click the hashtag, the homepage at the top, there's a layout on the far side over there. There's a layout grid. It'll have nothing underneath it if you haven't done that before. You click that, and then you can change the count. This is the standard size that I would use. Count is 12, width is 80, and gutter is 15. The rest of it you can just leave. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, so now we have content in our section here. Let's do some fun stuff. Let's make a button. So we're going to make a rectangle here. And we're going to change the color to green. And there's a fun tool that makes rounded edges. So if we can go to the top side over here, there's 3 little independent corner things over here. So you can click that and it'll come up with 4 zeros. An easy way to change all the sides at the same time is to just use this corner radius. So if we change that to 25, let's see what that looks like. Nope, more. 30. Let's do 45. Perfect. So 35. And as you can see, it changed all of them to 35. So if you wanted to change just one corner, you could just put all the rest to 0 and see which one changes. And here we go. And then we're going to add some text on top because it's not a button without text. And we're going to say, write a review. And then we're going to change the size to 45. Change the length of this. Add some spacing here. When you make a button, you don't want it to be too in your face. So make sure that you're not making it absolutely massive. I'd say this is about the right padding for this size of font that I have. And then we're going to center it. A really cool sort of tip that you can do is you can select auto layout on the side here. So make sure to select the text and the box, and then you can hit auto layout. What's really cool about this is if I just start typing, it'll automatically do the padding for me. I don't know about you, but I found that to be a pretty cool feature. So we can do write a review. How I did that, I just selected the 2 layers, so the green box and the text, and then you just hit auto layout and it'll automatically do it for you. You can center that there. And then we're going to add another alternative to writing a review. Just to add even more engagement. So we're going to say read more. Let me ask you guys this. If this text just looked like that, would you know to click on it? Would you guys think that that was a button? Probably not, right? No. What kind of defines links? Sorry? Yeah, that's true. Anything else? Yeah. Yeah, you black hat. Yeah. Underline? Yeah, exactly. So if I made this underlined, now it looks more like a link. The blue was definitely a good point. And then if we made this green, which is our active color here that we're using. Let me just go back to the green that I had here. Perfect. So now it looks more so like a link that you would click, especially since our theme here is going to be green buttons. Having a green link wouldn't seem that odd. It doesn't have to be standard blue or anything like that. Just make sure that you're consistent throughout your site and you use the same formatting all throughout it. Unity is a very important thing to have in a website, so your users don't get confused. And then we're going to change this up because I don't know about you, but I can't really read that when I zoom out a little bit. So we're going to add the stroke of 0.5. And we're going to change the color to green. And there we go. Now we have a link that is clickable. Another thing that we're going to add up here, we're going to jump back up to here because that section is complete. We have our components and we have something that the users can interact with. So we're going to create a button up here. we're going to go to our rectangle. I'm gonna make it green. And we're gonna do that cool trick where you can just round one of the edges. And we're just gonna say 15. And we're gonna go here, and we're gonna copy this. As you can see, you can't see that layer, so we're gonna bring it up until we can. Perfect. And we're gonna say order now. And here, because we have defined that our buttons are green, now this looks like a button to you. And now the users will realize that they can click on it. So we want to make sure that we really define our spaces throughout our site. We don't have to make it look super different. A lot of times people change the background. So say they would have like a gray background for the next component, or they have lines separating things. So that's what we're going to do. So we'll just create a rectangle here and change the stroke. And then we'll change the opacity to 50, so it's not so in your face. And we'll copy that over here. And perfect. So then we're going to copy this set that we have here, and we're going to bring it down. As you can see, it's a lot of copying. And we're going to say gallery. And then we're going to line it up with our previous testimonial section. We'll extend this. There we go. So now we have another section that we're making here. I'm just going to drop in my pre-selected images that I have here of their bubble tea and food and stuff. Keeping in mind that this is what it looked like before. I don't really find this super engaging, to be honest. It's just a grid, and I'd probably fly by it unless I'm really hungry. And stopping to look at it. So feel free to play around with the sizes of images and have more fun with it. Just make sure that they're all evenly spaced. And you can do that with the grid lines. So we are going to copy that over here. Perfect. And then we're going to extend this. Perfect here. I don't know about you, but that looks pretty flat to me. There's not really that much going on. You might as well just have a grid there. So why don't we add some more dimension to the background here? So we're going to click the home page top thing here, text, and we're going to go to fill. As you can see right now, it's solid. We're going to change it to linear. So what this is going to do, it's going to come up with these weird boxes, and you can drag them anywhere you want. You can go like this to change the contrast here, or you can click and drag that dot, so you can do diagonal gradients and everything like that. So it's pretty cool. We're going to have them go to the same color. We're going to use the eye tool. We're going to go back to our light green. And we're going to add if you click on the white line, you can add a color. I'm going to change it to white. So as you can see here, it kind of messed with some of the things. So you can drag this down to decrease the extensive white that we have all over our page. And now we have some sort of change in color between components. So now we have a white section and we have a green section up here. So it's gonna keep the user's eye interested in what's going on. And if we drag this page down a little bit more, Zoom in here. And we're going to add another button. So copy that one, paste it down over here. Centered. And we're going to say view menu. And there we go. I'm adding a little more space in between the images and the button just because I want it to stand out a little more. So make sure that the users will be able to see the things that you want them to look at. And by doing that, space is very important. Don't be afraid of white space. I'd say if half of your page is white, then you might want to fill it with something, but white space is generally your friend as it gives some breathing room. I wouldn't pack this with anything else. And then as a nice, oh yeah. The gradient? Yeah, sure. So if you click the hashtag thing again, there's a fill on the side. If you click that, you can change it to linear. There's also radial and a whole bunch of other things. And then you can add, if you just click anywhere, you can add these boxes. If you don't want them, just hit delete. And you can change the color and play around with that. Yeah, of course. I don't know about you, but as a website, I always find a nice perk to be able to go up in a page without scrolling. So we're going to add that ability. And we're going to say back to the top. Is there anything that you guys think is missing on the bottom of this page? Yeah.
Maybe a contact button, an address button, or not an address button, but like phone number, address, all that information.
Where do you think that's placed? At the bottom, but there's a word for it.
Footer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, credit to both of you guys. So we're gonna add that. Always make sure to include that. It's a nice way to frame your page. There we go. And I already put the text somewhere here. We're gonna add that onto our site. And there we go. So I'd say that that is a completed homepage. Any questions so far? Yes. Yeah, they're rectangles, and then you can change the curveness, the corner radius of them. So if I change this to 0, it's just a regular rectangle. But if I click on this and I change it to 35, it'll round all the edges. Yeah. Yes. Oh, sorry. No, it's create a text box, put it on top, and then if you click on the box and hold shift and then click on the text, then you can click I mean, it's not showing up on my thing right now, but there will be okay. I do this really quick, I do text, I say hi, and then I hold shift and I click this button. There'll be a button for auto layout. If you click that, it'll keep your spacing, and then it'll make it super easy when you want to, whoops, when you want to change the length of the button. It'll auto do the width for you. Yeah, of course. Yes, what was your question?
Could you go over again how I feel like top volume space not like
Yeah, for sure. So here, how I space them out perfectly was generally you want to have an odd number of elements. If you don't, that's fine too. You can start with your grid lines here. You can turn those on. Obviously, I'm not completely following the grid line system. You don't have to. I just use it as a guideline to make sure that all of my content is center focused, because that is where the user's eye is going to go. No one's going to look to the far side. So to center that, I always start with the middle element, and you just want to find, all of a sudden there'll be a T where the red line center goes all the way through the page, and then you'll start there. And then you can drag them around. If you already have them kind of centered and you want to figure out how to center all of them in a row, you can click on them and hold shift, and then you can click on whatever elements you want to center, and it'll treat them as one group, and then I can center them in that box. Does that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Any other questions? All right. So let's quickly make this contact page. So we're going to add another frame. I always use frames to organize all my designs, and then I just put them beside each other. Here, I'm going to call this contact page. And best part about being a designer is when you like your design, you just copy it. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm just selecting, you could also use the side and select the layers here as well. But I'm too lazy for that. So I'm just going to select all of this and drag it over here. Notice how if I keep my cursor off of that frame, it doesn't recognize that I want to put it on the frame. So make sure that your cursor stays on the frame when you're trying to copy something. All right. So we're going to extend the length of this. And again, unity. So we're going to copy this element as well. There's a lot of copy paste in design. And we're going to say contact us. That spacing actually looks perfect. And we're going to change the background again. So we're going to click the frame. And we're going to fill. Eyedropper. Select your color. And we're going to add. Oh, the stroke is already there. 2. There we go. Perfect. Now you can read that. So now we're going to go through something that's called masking. It's a great tool for when you have a large image and you want to frame it in a box. So this is great for icons, logos, or if you're doing like who's on our team page and you have the photos of all the employees, this is where you can use that and put them into circles. So what we're going to do is create a rectangle, or a square actually, sorry. We're going to make it 488 by 488. And let's change the color just so we can see it. And then we're going to drag this image on top of it. Make sure, because I didn't have the cursor on it, it's not going to notify that it's on the frame. Make sure to have the cursor on the frame. And we're going to drag it over. And then, because I clearly cannot select that box, we're going to select both of these frames here. To select them, you want to hold shift and then you can click whatever you want, but we're going to select these 2 layers. And we're going to double click on them. And we're going to use as mask here. So we're going to click that. As you can see, it just framed to the box. And then you can also double click this and then you'll be able to move the image. But that is exactly where we want it. Perfect. And voila. So because I don't know where the center of this is, we're going to add our layout grid, columns, 12, Gutter is 15, stretch, nope, we want it to be centered. And the width, we'll have it as 80. And there we go, there's our guidelines. And perfect. And then we can hide them. And I don't know, I think that looks kind of bland. Let's add a stroke here. Let's make it 10. Maybe change the color here. So, does anyone know why we can't see the stroke on this? First time doing this, it took me a while to figure out why. I'll give you a clue. It's something to do with the elements here. Does anyone think they know? Wild guesses, anybody? Something to do with the stroke? No? Yeah?
You don't actually have the image selected.
No, it is selected. I have it clicked on. You're viewing that element. That was a good guess, huh? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's inside, you want it to be outside, and you'll suddenly be able to see it. Yeah. But we want to add this to the rectangle, so. Oh, crap. It's adding it to the mask. Oh, I figured out why. So if we go like this, we're gonna have to add another box and then change the layer. So I forgot that we masked this. Oops. So it's annoying to do this for masked elements because group the selection. Map. Hold on a second. Then we'll be able to. Okay. Add a rectangle on this. Yeah, so masked elements are a little confusing because if you change the stroke of the rectangle that's underneath it, it'll think that you're trying to change the width of the image that you're using. So my little hack is using a rectangle and just putting it behind it. And then we are going to change this to 5, so it's rounded a little bit. Then we'll change this golden. But like the same thing here, you want to make sure that first time that I was using this, I didn't realize that there were many options here, and it just had it as inside. But then when you make it 10, it goes inwards in the shape. So you want to make sure that it's outside, so then it goes outwards on the shape. But in this case, we're using the rectangle, so we won't need that. Okay. Oh. Okay, perfect. There we go. And then for the sake of time, I have my text boxes all here, so I'm just going to drag those over. Perfect. Here. And we're going to line it up. And we can't see the color, so we're going to change that to black. And there we go. You can change the spacing and orientation of your text using just the regular middle, left, right. There we go. We're gonna change the spacing of this because I'm not a huge fan. Voila. And does anyone know what's missing in this section? there's an element that I would say is missing. Something that I've mentioned several times that you should have in a component at all times. No, but that's a good guess. Can the user interact with anything on this page right now? In this section that I've showed you? Yeah, you can interact with this, but in this section, there's nothing that the user can do. So we want to add a button or something that the user can interact with and click on. You could also add more images or a carousel or have some element that's moving. Or if you wanted to have these slide in the page like this, that would be also pretty cool too. But for now, we'll add a button. So we're going to copy this element over here. And we'll drag it onto this frame. And we'll say, oh no. And there we go. And yes, we do need a footer, so we're going to copy that as well. Copy and drag it. Now, because this page is nowhere near as long as the other one, I'm not going to add a, you can go back to the top on this page, but if it was longer, I would have done that. And I think there should be more spacing. So we're going to add that. And there we go. So now we have our contact page as well. But when I go on this page, I'm not really noticing the button very much. I'm kind of flip-flopping between these two. But in this element, I really want your attention to be on the call now and less on the map. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's use our background here. Let's change it to linear. And we can change this to white, or this one. Oops. I'll change. Okay. Why is this being difficult? I want this one to be white. And I mean, now our page is all white, so we're going to drag this down until here. And now, if you notice, your attention goes down. So that is another key way that you can use to draw your user's eye to certain places. Any questions? I just realized that I moved this. I didn't actually keep it on the other page. There we go. So there's 2 pages of your website. Yeah, I hope that made sense to everybody. If you're really curious about anything, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me anytime. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you. Thank you.